Welcome back to another episode of Living Well with Janet, where we explore what it means to live well. In today's episode, I want to talk about some of the most ridiculous wellness practices that are out there right now. Obviously, I am a fan of health and wellness. That is the entire reason why I started this show. But there are some pretty crazy out there things that I'm seeing in the health and wellness space. So today I want to take some time to go through some of these practices. Maybe you've heard of them, maybe you haven't, and I'll share some of my thoughts and opinions. Let's just kick it right off. The very first wellness practice that is kind of out there right now that I've heard about is perineum sunning. This is the practice of exposing the perineum, which is the area between the genitals and anus, to direct sunlight. Apparently, it gained popularity after a couple of wellness influencers claimed that it could boost energy, increase vitamin D absorption, and enhance overall vitality. Advocates claim that by exposing your butthole to sunlight for a few minutes every day, it boosts your energy levels and it improves your mood. It's basically tanning your taint. So, how does one perineum sun? Experts suggest that you find a private location, ideally a secluded backyard, a rooftop, or some spot where you are not going to be showing your butthole to people, I guess, so that you can have some privacy. Secondly, you want to choose the right time to sun your perineum. People suggest that early morning is good, sometime before 10 a.m., or late afternoon after 4 p.m. This is so that you can avoid the harshest UV ray exposure. You first start by lying on your back. Many people lie down with their legs spread and raised toward the sun. Some do a variation of happy baby pose in yoga. Yes, that definitely would expose your perineum to the sunlight. Experts also suggest that you limit exposure time. You really should only be doing this for 30 seconds to 5 minutes. That's what's recommended. And that's because our skin on the perineum is very sensitive, and prolonged exposure could lead to serious burns. As a last step in how to sun your perineum, you can also apply sunscreen. If you're worried about burning a very delicate area, a little SPF could help you out there. So, does perineum sunning actually work? There is zero scientific evidence that sunning your perineum provides any special health benefits beyond just that of regular sun exposure. And your skin, really anywhere on your body, can produce vitamin D, so it's not just your perineum. There's no unique benefit or advantage to that particular spot of your body. And obviously, there are risks like you could burn yourself, right? The skin in that area is very sensitive. So, there could also be awkward tan lines or maybe lack of tan lines. I don't know, one of those things. But this is quite an interesting practice. My thoughts on perineum sunning. Look, I think that sunlight exposure is incredibly beneficial. There's a lot of research out there that shows, obviously, not just the benefits, but the necessity of getting your exposure to vitamin D. But I personally don't know that sunning the genital area is going to be very advantageous in terms of being able to outweigh the potential risks of burning or maybe being caught by a neighbor. But, to each their own. I think I always say try anything once, but perineum sunning is not something that I would voluntarily participate in on a regular basis. But to each their own, and maybe for you, it's something you'd like to try. The second wellness practice that is pretty interesting is raw water. This is the practice of ingesting untreated, unfiltered, and unsterilized spring or well water that hasn't gone through any municipal or purification processes. Basically, people who are advocates of raw water say that it's more natural and it's more mineral rich than tap or bottled water. And oftentimes it can get really expensive. Some people pay a ridiculous amount of money for raw water that comes from springs, despite the fact that, if it's not treated, there actually could be a lot of bacteria and parasites. So why would people choose to drink raw water? Well, some people believe that raw water has more natural minerals. Since it is not filtered, the raw water contains minerals like magnesium, calcium, and silica that might, I guess, be removed if you filter water. Supposedly, there are also very healthy probiotics in raw water. Some claim that the natural biome in raw water supports gut health. But again, it can also contain harmful bacteria. Thirdly, there are no added chemicals. So usually when you filter water, They'll add chlorine, fluoride, and other treatments that are found in tap water to make it like safer to drink. But raw water doesn't have these chemicals. So I guess it depends on what you believe, if you believe the chemicals are helpful or if they're not. How does one go about consuming raw water? Because there is a particular like way to do this for those who are pro raw water. First of all, they say you want to find a safe source. If you're drinking raw water, it should come from a natural spring that has been tested for contaminants. Some brands actually sell bottled raw water. I guess there's a brand called Live Water that does this. The second thing is that you want to make sure that you're storing your raw water properly. Because raw water can develop bacteria over time, it needs to be stored in a glass container and refrigerated. Thirdly, if you are going to drink raw water, you should be drinking it in small amounts, like small sips, just to see how your body reacts to it, because it is so different than the traditional types of water that we're used to drinking. Lastly, you want to consider home filtration. Some raw water drinkers use gravity-fed filters to remove potential contaminants while keeping natural minerals. That seems like a safe and good bet to me. But what are some of the risks and concerns around consuming raw water? Well, first of all, the bacteria and the parasites. Raw water can contain E. coli, Giardia, and other pathogens that can cause illness. Secondly, there is no fluoride in the water. So usually when you're drinking tap water, there is fluoride in it, and that can actually help to prevent cavities, and raw water doesn't have that. So that's just something to think about. There's also no real hard proof in the extra benefits of raw water. While some minerals do exist naturally in raw water, you can really get a lot of those minerals probably from other foods or safely filtered sources. So the verdict, once again, to each their own, but I personally would avoid drinking raw water. And I am someone who generally has a pretty strong stomach. Usually when I travel to foreign countries, I never, knock on wood, have had any bad experiences. But even then, I just sounds a little sus to me. I think raw water is something that I'm going to say I will not be practicing. The third wellness practice that I have heard about recently is cryotherapy for the face, or facial cryotherapy. And this involves exposing the skin to extremely cold temperatures, usually through like liquid nitrogen, ice globes, or cryowans. I've seen a bunch of these like Instagram and TikToks on all these different types of like facial devices. But liquid nitrogen, that sounds like super intense. But supposedly, it is supposed to help tighten, refresh, and reduce inflammation in your skin. Some places will actually charge hundreds of dollars for cryofacials, and this is where the skin is blasted with sub-zero air for anti-aging benefits. While some claims are exaggerated, research supports a few benefits. One is reducing puffiness and inflammation. Because the cold constricts your blood vessels, this can help reduce swelling and redness in the skin, especially for under-eye bags. That sounds promising. Facial cryotherapy can also help boost circulation because after you expose your skin to cold, the blood flow increases, and this delivers oxygen and nutrients to the skin. Also, it tightens your pores. Cold temperatures can cause the skin to contract, which makes pores appear smaller. That makes total sense. And also, it could stimulate collagen production. Some research suggests that repeated cold exposure may help with skin elasticity and firmness. This all sounds pretty valid. Also, facial cryotherapy could soothe irritated skin. So if you are someone who suffers from like rosacea or post-inflammatory redness, I could see how this can be really soothing. So how does one practice cryotherapy for the face at home? Well, you can do ice dunking. This is where you fill a bowl with ice water and you submerge your face for 10 to 15 seconds at a time. And you repeat this 3 to 5 times. I've actually tried this and it's hard. It's hard. It's refreshing and it feels good, but it's also like there's a little bit of moment of panic, even though 10 to 15 seconds does not sound that long, but yeah. But then afterwards, it does feel really good. Secondly, you can also use ice globes or cryowans. And these you can keep in the freezer and then you glide them over your face in an upward motion for about 5 to 10 minutes. That sounds like very doable. You can also use cold face masks. You can store a gel face mask in the fridge or the freezer and you apply for 10 minutes to refresh your skin. You can also, if you don't want to invest in any additional materials beyond what you already have at home, you could do the cold spoon trick. And this is where you take 2 spoons and you put them in the freezer and then you take them out and you press them under your eyes to reduce puffiness. I actually have not tried this, but I've heard of it and now I kind of want to try it. I guess on the more like extreme end, you could actually do professional cryotherapy facials, which is kind of like what this trend initially that I was talking about, where you go to a spa and they will use liquid nitrogen or CO2 and use it to blast cold air on your face at negative 200 degrees Fahrenheit or all the way to negative 300 degrees Fahrenheit for 2 to 3 minutes. I'm curious if this is painful because I do feel some pain already from just ice dunking. So if anyone's tried it, let me know. There are some things, though, to keep in mind, some risks to cryotherapy facials. Be aware that doing this too often or too much can actually damage your skin. If you apply ice directly on your skin for too long, you can actually burn and break the capillaries, blood capillaries in your face. So that does not sound good. We don't want to be doing that. And then if you have particularly sensitive skin, you might want to be wary of trying cryotherapy for the face just because it sounds like it could be kind of intense. So if you have rosacea or extreme dryness, too much cold exposure could worsen the irritation. What is the verdict on cryotherapy for the face? I would say I do believe in the health benefits of, some cold exposure. And I think that it does help in reducing like puffiness and redness and kind of doing like a temporary solution. But I would be wary of looking at it as something that's going to completely change your skin and your face for the better. And I'm a little bit scared of doing a cryotherapy facial. Maybe scared's the wrong word. I would be open to it. I don't think it would be something that I would want to do super, super often. But I'm kind of curious now. But I would definitely be open to practicing any of those more moderate approaches at home, like dunking your face in a bowl of ice, using cold spoons, or even maybe investing in like cryo ones or ice globes. All of that sounds good. The next wellness practice that I've heard about is drinking chlorophyll. Now, this practice involves consuming liquid chlorophyll drops, chlorophyll water, or chlorophyll-rich foods. You all know that I love my greens, but the claim for this type of wellness practice is that it will boost your health and detoxify your body. Chlorophyll is the green pigment in plants and it helps with photosynthesis. And some claim that drinking it has numerous health benefits, though there is kind of mixed, scientific research on this, or the findings are a bit mixed. Some influencers claim that it detoxifies your body and it gives you clear skin. Some studies suggest that chlorophyll reduces your acne and inflammation when it's taken orally or applied topically. Chlorophyll also has antioxidant properties and it might help you fight oxidative stress in the body, which I've heard of. It might also aid in digestion. Some believe it supports gut health, though also more research is needed on that. It's a bit inconclusive. Also it might help with bad breath. Sometimes chlorophyll is used as a natural deodorizer. It's found in some breath freshening products. But if you were ever hearing or expecting that consuming chlorophyll will help to completely detox the body, that is something we should be hesitant about. Also noting that your liver and your kidneys already detox your body quite naturally. Chlorophyll might help that, but it's not going to replace that and it's not going to be a cure-all. Also, if you ever hear claims that taking chlorophyll prevents cancer, there's some research that suggests potential benefits, but I would say it's not very conclusive. But if you do want to practice drinking chlorophyll, this is how people typically do it. You can do it in the form of liquid drops, 10 to 15 drops of liquid chlorophyll to a glass of water, and you can do that once or twice daily. I've definitely done that. Once again, as a practice that is because I like greens and I like chlorophyll, I'm not expecting it to cure me of anything or to completely overhaul my health and wellness. There's also some brands that sell pre-bottled chlorophyll water out of convenience. Okay, that sounds reasonable. You can also get chlorophyll supplements, which are capsules or tablets if you don't want to drink the chlorophyll. You can also just eat chlorophyll-rich foods like spinach, parsley, wheatgrass, spirulina. All of these contain natural chlorophyll and, in my opinion, would probably be superior to taking any supplement. But once again, I believe that supplements have a time and a place in your life. Some things that I found in my research, though, to keep in mind for taking chlorophyll is to be aware that it could upset your stomach. I think it depends from person to person. Some people do experience nausea or diarrhea. Sometimes chlorophyll can also turn your poop green. I personally have not experienced this, but that could happen. And according to some of the research that I did, it's not harmful, but it's something to look out for if you start taking chlorophyll. I think that's reasonable. I mean, sometimes if you eat too many greens, that probably will happen as well. Ooh, this is an interesting one. So having chlorophyll may cause sensitivity to sunlight. If you take large doses, it might make your skin more prone to sunburn. So that is something I actually had not heard about and I didn't know about, and we should all be careful about that. What is the verdict on chlorophyll? Like I said, I have taken chlorophyll supplements. Like I liked doing kind of droppers and things like that, and I do make an active effort to eat a lot of greens. So I obviously love and believe in the benefits of chlorophyll, but I don't think it's a cure all. I don't think it's something that's going to completely detox your body of all these things. So that's something that I would keep in mind. The next wellness practice sounds a little out there to me. Lymphatic drainage with a plunger. So this is actually a practice where you use a small suction device, or actually, I mean, I've seen the small suction device. I think that is not as like out there, but supposedly there are some people who are using straight up toilet plungers on their face. How does that even work? I'm not even sure how that would. Anyway, but supposedly this stimulates the lymphatic system and it helps to remove toxins. And there have been some wellness influencers who claim that this method detoxifies your body, that it reduces bloating, that it improves circulation by encouraging lymph fluid movement. But there isn't actual like scientific, like hard scientific evidence that plunging yourself is necessary for lymphatic drainage. Your lymphatic system does it on its own. But that's not to say that there aren't small benefits or maybe great benefits to lymphatic massages or things like that. But this like whole plunger thing sounds maybe a little bit intense. However, some of the health benefits that people claim is that it might temporarily reduce puffiness. The suction effect moves the fluid around, similar to facial gua sha or massage. That makes sense to me. It might increase circulation. Some people report a warming sensation from the suction, which can be from increased blood flow. Totally makes sense. Some people say it feels like a deep tissue massage, so you can use it for relaxation or muscle tension and relief. That totally sounds valid to me. You have to be sure that you're using a proper suction cup. If you're doing this, use a silicone cupping tool, not a toilet plunger. Secondly, make sure you apply oil or lotion. It helps the cup glide smoothly over your skin. And you want to start at the extremities. Move in the direction of lymph flow from the feet toward the heart or from the face toward the neck. I feel like I've heard of this before, maybe also with like facial gua sha. Next, you want to use gentle, slow movements. You don't want to press too hard. Lymphatic drainage is about light pressure. And also hydrate afterwards. Drinking water helps your lymphatic system function naturally. I think this makes sense after you get a massage. Oftentimes they'll give you water because I guess it's like to help flush out the toxins that were moved around. So, I mean, when I'm hearing more about the process of lymphatic drainage, it doesn't sound too extreme. Maybe just if you're using like a toilet plunger. But I guess where it gets extreme is if you think that it is completely detoxifying your body. We just want to be educated and know that every body has a lymphatic system that works on its own to flush toxins out and do all those things. So this is not a replacement for that. And this isn't something that you need to do in order for your lymphatic system to, do whatever it does. Some people claim that it boosts immunity. And there's no real studies that show plunging yourself makes your immune system stronger. But at the same time, I think general health and wellness practices, or if you do it in moderation and it helps you feel good, I could see how that boosts your immunity. Lastly, there is a claim that lymphatic drainage helps to promote weight loss or fat reduction. And this is where we need to be a little bit clear that suctioning your skin won't make you lose fat. And if there's any change, it tends to be temporary, right? If it's just removing the bloat or water weight or whatever that is. So that's just something we want to be mindful of. Some alternatives to lymphatic drainage, which I guess is the actual practice that is like a little bit more extreme, is to just do manual lymphatic massages. You could just do that in a less extreme way, done by a professional, where it's like gentle massage and you don't need suction cups or massive tools. You can also try dry brushing. If you use a soft brush, it helps to like stimulate circulation before showering. So that's a more approachable way to get some of the benefits as an alternative to lymphatic drainage. And also, just by hydrating and moving your body, that actually helps the liquid in your lymphatic system work. So what is the verdict? I think there's a lot of great benefits to doing things for your lymphatic system. I would just personally go with less extreme approaches like massage and moving your body. I would not be opposed to trying the lymphatic drainage, like a more intense massage. It's probably not something that I would do all the time. Another kind of ridiculous and out there wellness practice that I've heard of is breatharianism. So apparently, breatharianism is the belief that humans can live without food or water, surviving solely on air, sunlight, and spiritual energy. Spiritual energy like prana, chi, life force. That's all you need. You don't need food and water. This sounds super extreme to me. Some very extreme breatharians, I don't know, am I pronouncing this right? Breatharians claim they actually have not eaten for years. Oh my God. That doesn't sound realistic. While others promote long fasting periods, claiming to train the body to live without physical nourishment. However, there is zero scientific evidence that this is even possible. Yeah, I don't think is it possible? Every known case of someone attempting true breatharianism has led to severe malnourishment or death. Yikes. Okay, yes, this sounds like an incredibly extreme practice. Supposedly, this is supposed to help to detoxify your body, but does that even matter if you're dead? I guess it also is supposed to help raise consciousness and increase energy and extend lifespan. How do people practice breatharianism? Prolonged fasting, starting with intermittent fasting, then stretching to days or weeks without eating. Meditating, sun gazing, and absorbing energy from the universe instead of eating. Some claim they only consume fruit juices or teas, and then there's also just full abstinence from food and water. This stage is impossible to sustain without serious health consequences. Yeah, I would say as someone who actually has tried short-term fasts, and I know that there's also a lot of different spiritual and religious practices who do fasting, and there's a lot of benefits to say about that. It seems a bit extreme if you're going to be doing it for prolonged periods of time and constantly. It sounds dangerous. And I've never heard of this reference of breatharianism where all you need is breath. I think that's a bit extreme. So yes, I think, short fasts, periodic fasts, there's a lot of validity to that, but doing it long term in an extreme fashion, I would say, is a no-no. Okay, another wellness practice, chewing your water. Chewing your water is the practice of swishing or lightly chewing the water in your mouth before you swallow. And this is supposed to help to aid digestion, enhance hydration, and promote mindfulness while drinking. It's based on the idea that slowing down while drinking helps to activate digestive enzymes in your saliva, similar to how chewing food starts the digestive process. Chewing stimulates the saliva production, which contains enzymes like amylase that help break down food. It encourages mindful drinking. When you're more intentional about hydration, it can help prevent gulping too much water too fast, which also could lead to bloating. So if you're chewing your water and you're kind of going more slowly, I could see how that actually helps as well. You're not swallowing excess air. Some say that it helps with satiety. By chewing your water, it makes you feel fuller, preventing you from overeating. Okay, I guess I could kind of see that. If you are interested in trying out this practice of chewing your water, this would be the way to do it. You take a sip instead of a large gulp. You take a small amount of water into your mouth, and then you swish or you chew lightly. You move the water around your mouth, pressing it against your tongue and teeth for a few seconds. And then you swallow slowly so that you are mindful of the sensation of the water as it goes down. And you repeat as needed. Some people say, well, you do this with every sip of water, that you would chew it. What do I think about chewing your water? I think if you are someone who tends to be chugging down a lot of water or in your food generally very quickly, and that tends to lead to a lot of digestive discomfort, I could see how this is totally valid. Realistically, though, I don't think that I could be someone who chews my water all the time. That just seems like a lot of work. But I think that there is some validity to practicing this every once in a while so that you're more mindful and aware of what you're putting into your body, right? And that you're hydrating properly, but not in a way where you're going to make yourself like gassy or bloated. So, yeah, it's valid, I would say. This next wellness practice, well, this is an interesting one, vagina steaming or yoni steaming. And this is the practice of sitting over herbal infused steam to cleanse, detoxify, or rejuvenate the vaginal area. It is often promoted as an ancient healing ritual with roots in traditional medicine practices from various cultures. Vagina steaming was actually made famous by Gwyneth Paltrow and involves sitting over a pot of herbal steam to quote unquote cleanse your womb. Some of the health benefits, health claims, that it balances your vaginal pH, that it cleanses and detoxifies, that it regulates your menstrual cycle, that it improves fertility, or that it heals postpartum tissues, or improves circulation in your vaginal area. how does vaginal steaming work? Okay, so if you wanted to try this, supposedly you boil water with herbs. You combine a couple of herbs. These would include mugwort, chamomile, basil, and rosemary. And then you let it cool slightly to ensure the steam is warm, not scalding. We want to not be burning that area of our body. And then you position yourself over the steam. You sit on a chair with a hole or squat over a bowl so the steam can reach your vaginal area. And then you steam for 10 to 20 minutes, but make sure you don't want prolonged exposure because burns, ow. And then make sure you hydrate and you rest afterwards. Some practitioners recommend resting to absorb the benefits of vaginal steaming. I actually have to say, I'm kind of curious about this. I have never tried vaginal steaming. I have heard about it. I don't know that it's that extreme. I would say maybe don't think that it's going to like completely heal or cure anything once again, but I could see this as a valid wellness practice, and you just being sure that maybe if you're going to do it at home by yourself, be careful so that you don't burn yourself. I might actually prefer to go to a specialist or someone who practices and has this all set up. Are there places you can go to for vaginal steaming? I might be down to try. Anyway, the next wellness practice that maybe is ridiculous, maybe is not, is ice bath dating. So this is a wellness meets dating trend where couples or first-time dates will actually sit in an ice bath together as a bonding experience. The idea is that shared discomfort creates emotional connection, which helps couples feel closer, more vulnerable, and possibly more attracted to each other. This practice of ice bath dating combines cold exposure therapy, which was popularized by Wim Hof, with relationship psychology based on the idea that adrenaline-inducing activities can actually boost attraction, similar to excitation transfer effect seen in scary movies or roller coasters. I've heard about this. Potential benefits. So it could boost dopamine and mood, right? Cold exposure can increase your dopamine by up to 250%, leading to a euphoric feeling afterward. Ice baths can help to regulate the nervous system, make you feel more present and calm. I definitely could see how this encourages vulnerability and bonding, and how that might strengthen your relationship with someone when you're ice plunging together. It can be a kind of a memorable, non-traditional date experience. If you are interested in trying out ice bath dating, this is how you would do it. Number 1, you set up the ice bath. A bathtub, a large bucket, or specialized ice tub works best. Fill it with cold water and ice to about 50 to 59 degrees Fahrenheit. And then what you want to do is take your partner's hand and encourage each other to breathe and enter into the ice bath together. And you kind of get through that initial shock. And then you want to stay in the ice bath together for about 2 to 5 minutes. You want to focus on deep breathing to regulate the body's stress response. Afterwards, it could be also helpful to reflect and talk about the experience together and maybe see if it made you feel closer. This is interesting. I personally have actually not done an ice bath yet, and this is something I really want to try. Maybe trying it with someone else together, that would be an interesting practice. I'm curious, has anyone tried ice bath dating? I'd be curious to hear about your experience. But that is today's episode, where I went through a couple of wellness practices out there that kind of could be ridiculous, kind of maybe not. My thoughts on a lot of these practices are, I would almost try anything once. I think there is no harm to trying something, and I'm always kind of a very open-minded person. I would just always hesitate when people look at any one particular wellness practice and take it to an extreme and think that it's a cure-all. That's where I'm like, no, let's not do that. The other thing is, when it comes to wellness practices, I think that if you're doing something that you believe is working, the placebo effect is very real. Once again, not a cure-all. But if, I don't know, steaming your yoni or if sunning your perineum makes you feel well, do it. Just make sure you're careful and you're not overdoing it, that it's not extreme, or that you're believing that it's going to be a cure-all. So that's that. Thank you all for listening to today's episode. I had a great time reviewing some of these interesting, ridiculous, but maybe not that ridiculous wellness practices. I will catch you all on another episode. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Living Well or Trying to. If you don't already, please follow or subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, wherever it is that you get your podcasts. It means so much to me that my new episodes will just pop up in your feed. And if you like what you're hearing and seeing, please leave a rating and review. It means so much for a small content creator like myself in this world that is so saturated now to be able to have some feedback from all of you. As always, I so appreciate you. Thank you for lending me your ears, your eyes, your presence and your attention, especially in today's world when there are so many other places that you could be giving it to. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart, and I hope to catch you on another episode.